I guess I just want to jump right into this Tiger game. So this is about as raw a reaction to a game, short of me like literally live reacting, like those shows. This is about as raw a reaction as you're going to get from me. So I want to start by painting this picture of how we've gotten here. Okay. So short of you calling this a miracle in the opposite direction, the Tigers managed to do something that I literally did not think they were going to do. Like, I did not think that the math was going to work out for them to fail this bad, but they did. The month of September was a complete and utter disaster for this team. You want to know how many times the Tigers won a series in the month of September? Not, sweeps, not anything crazy. Just winning 2 out of 3, 3 out of 4, 1 out of 2. They didn't play any 2-game sets, but or 2 out of 2, I should say. You want to know how many times they did that? 1. They got 1 series win the entire month of September. They lost 2 out of 3 against the Mets. Then they lost 2 out of 3 against the White Sox. They managed to win on the road against the Yankees somehow. I don't know how they managed to do that. That was like the only, all their offense was put into that Yankee series. They lose 2 out of 3 to the Marlins. They get swept by the Guardians. They get swept by the Braves. They lose 2 out of 3 to the Guardians on the road. Then they lose 2 out of 3 to the Red Sox on the road. And the thing that gets me, okay, so they stumble in, they clinch the playoffs this past Saturday with a 2-1 victory over the Red Sox. So their last 2 wins have both been 2-1, weirdly enough. And they're out there just dancing along, doing the champagne party and, acting like, they did something that everybody thought they were going to do. Like, when they were celebrating, and then on Sunday, I'm like, guys, you can still win the division. If you win and Cleveland loses, you still win the division. But then AJ Hinch said, you know what? F the division. And put out the worst lineup I've ever seen of such all-stars as Justin Henry Malloy, Jake Rogers, and Trey Sweeney. And they go out there, and they manage to actually play a pretty compelling game on Sunday, but they lose the game. And a lot of the talk and media, and like all of what was coming out from the team was, well, losing sucks. We'll figure it out. And it was just like, it just came off as incredibly tone deaf. Like, you had Riley Green saying, it is what it is after his 100th strikeout of the season. Well, certainly of the season, but of the month, it felt like it was his 100th strikeout of the month. And by the end of that game on Sunday, I was like, all right, I'm just in off-season mode. I'm just thinking about what are they going to do to build this lineup better? What kind of trades are we going to do? Are we going to sign Scooble? If we're not, what can we get for him in a trade? What's going to happen, basically? And then they won today. And I'm not going to say I've completely flipped out of off-season mode. But they have got my attention. All right? And maybe that's where I'm most deadly, is when I thought I was out, they pull me back in. And they played a game that it wasn't beautiful. It certainly wasn't. The offense was terrible, largely. They had so many opportunities to blow that game open, and the bats went cold. But the pitching was excellent. Scooble was incredible. 14 strikeouts in almost 8 innings pitched in a playoff game on the road against a division rival, a team that just beat you 2 out of 3 less than a week ago. You can't make that up. And then Will Vest closing it out. And probably the creme de la creme, the cream of the crop. 9th inning, you're up 2-1. Jose Ramirez hits a grounder to short. Javi Baez makes an incredible diving play. Throws, bad throw, gets past Torkelson at first. Ramirez goes all the way to third. I'm like, all right, well, maybe we'll have to try to win this in extras. Then Vest gets a strikeout. I'm like, okay, that eliminates at least 1 out, right? They still got it. They could still tie this game up with a good hit. But then a ground ball to short, ground ball up to the mound to Will Vest. And at first I'm like, oh, he's going to go throw him out at first, right? Because there's no way that Jose Ramirez, one of the best third basemen, one of the best baseball players in the league, there's no way he's going to be running on contact.
Is the man retarded?
And there he was in the middle of third and home, like a scared little boy in a mire after his mommy didn't realize that he was left in the cereal aisle. And Will Vest just like, oh, all right, well, let's just tag you. I've never seen that. When I saw that happen, I was like, so I was working, by the way. So shout out to my employer. I was working from home, and I'm watching the game on my television. And I see the ground ball, and I'm like, okay, great. That's going to be a ground out. And then I see, oh my gosh, they're going to try to throw him out of home. And then, oh my gosh, he's not even close to home. And then they just tag him. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, literally,
Is the man retarded?
That was my thought. Like, is the man retarded? Like, what are you doing? Why are you are one of the top. I love Jose Ramirez as a baseball player. He hurts me as a Tiger fan, but as a baseball player, he is one of my favorite players to watch. And he went out and made one of the most boneheaded decisions. He made the kind of decision that the Tigers have been making this whole month. And that's not on top of the fact that you had, the ground ball to first base that bounces off the first baseman. And then you also had the splits where he's not tagging the bag and Wenzel Perez reaches. You have, I'm trying to think of some of the other, you have just bad game management. You're putting in guys with 160 averages to be your pinch hitter because you like the matchup. And like Cleveland doesn't have the hitting, seemingly. They got Jose Ramirez and Steven Kwan, and pretty much outside of the one hit at the end of the game, both of those guys were completely shut down. And if they're not on, well, you're relying on Josh Naylor and Rodriguez and things. You're relying on those guys, Austin Hedges, to do something for you. And that's not a winning strategy for Cleveland. Now, I'm sure, they still got 2 games to work themselves back into this. It's certainly not over yet. But you can't help but feel that basically the Space Jam aliens came in and flipped the talent level for both of these teams. The Tigers played a clean game outside of the Javi Baez error, which, frankly, it wasn't that bad of a throw. If Torkelson, is able to just reach out a little bit more, he probably could make the play. But it is what it is. Even also, Javi Baez had 2 hits that game. So, he kind of, whatever. I can live with 1 error and 2 hits. That's fine with me. All I would say is this. Given all of the losing, all right, and given what just transpired earlier today, what do the Tigers need to do to make up for it, in my mind? And in my mind, it's the same goal that we really had, I say, going into the season. Last year, they won in the wild card, lost in the ALDS. You got to get better. So, win the ALDS, and I'll consider the season a success. And that's because if they would have won the Central and lost the ALDS, okay, at least you have a title, at least you have a banner, you have something that you can stake in this season. They don't have that. And frankly, when you look back at some of the moves that have been made, the electric trade deadline that was Kyle Finnegan and friends, literally, because Charlie Morton's off the team, and Kyle Finnegan, Chris Paddock is no longer a starting pitcher for you. If you can get to the ALCS, then you're on a free ride. Then anything beyond that. And I will say this. As good as the Mariners are, and I probably I could look stupid with this saying this, but there's one team in the MLB that has never, ever, 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 ever made the World Series. And that's the Seattle Mariners. And that's not to say that they can't get to the ALCS. That's not to say they can't beat you in 3. All right? They certainly could. But you got to feel like if things start going poorly for those Seattle Mariners players and for those fans. You got to think that the creeping thought in the back of your mind that, oh my gosh, we're going to do it again. I mean, they were one of the best. They had what was the best regular season record in all of baseball was Seattle Mariners, and they didn't even make the World Series. I don't even know if they made the ALCS. I think they got eliminated in the first round, or the division round, whatever it was. I don't know. For what it's worth, here's what I'll say: Tigers, okay, you really got me angry with you. You really hurt me in that last month of September. Make the ALCS, and all is forgiven. All is forgiven. I will know. It won't matter to me that you didn't win the division, truly. But I'm not sure if that's going to happen. So I'm happy that they won today. I'm hoping they can win this 3-game set against Cleveland because it would just be so delicious to let them have their stupid little division title while we can have a deeper run in the playoffs. That would just be funny. But I have my doubts. So, prove me wrong. Hey, YouTube, if you like clips like that, hit the like, hit the subscribe button. We've got live shows every Tuesday night. Hope to see you there.